Welcome to Just Say This, the place to get all the help you need for the birds and bees talks. I'm your host, Amy Lang. Just a quick reminder, this show is for grown-ups because I'll be swearing. There'll be lots of swears, and then I'll also be talking about grown-up sex. I can guarantee that your kids do not want to listen to this, and they really don't want to listen to it with you. You've been warned. Do you have a question for me? Please give me a call. The phone number is 206-926-1522, 206-926-1522, and I will answer on the show. And if you have a funny sex talk story, please call in those as well, 206-926-1522. Thanks. Hello, it has been forever since I've done a Q&A show. I just got all excited about my guest stars, and I even have another one a-coming. Anywho's, thanks for being a listener. Thanks for sharing the show. If you haven't done that in a while, I'd love it if you would. This episode is kind of wackadoodle, as you can tell by the title. Anyway, I just wanted to also say Happy Women's History Month. There's lots going on around the world, and I hope you're healthy and well and all that good stuff. So I ain't got nothing to rant about. I don't really feel like it, so I'm not gonna. So let's just get right to the good stuff.
Hi, Amy. I am hoping you can help me out. I found a fairly adult-rated bit of content on my 10-year-old son's Kindle. It's called Ganged by the Ski Patrol. We live in Bend, Oregon, and I think he was probably innocently enough thinking he found a ski book that he was looking for. But anyway, you've trained me so well over the years to lock down all the devices, but the one that got by me was the Kindle and the Unlimited part of it. I never dreamt that Kindle would have that type of content, and I found it on his device the other day. So it was at 92%, so it looks like he definitely flipped through it, and it, as I said, has some very adult content on it. To be honest, I'm not sure he could follow all the concepts in there. I don't even know which one of those things are. He's not that much of a reader of anything that isn't a graphic novel, but maybe I'm just grasping at straws of hope. Anyway, do you have a script in your toolkit that you could share with me to use here? I'm not even sure where to start. Thank you.
Yeah, this is a rough one, and don't you worry, sweet listener. I'm going to give you the synopsis of Ganged by the Ski Patrol, just so you can see what we're dealing with. And thank you for the reminder that Kindle Unlimited literally means unlimited. And I'm thrilled that you were using the parental controls and stuff everywhere else. So unfortunately, this kind of thing happens, and we read books that had naughty business. I just did a presentation for a group of preschool mamas, and I said, remember reading fiction books. So I shouted out about Clan of the Cave Bear, and it was really funny because this woman looks at me and she's like, Clan of the Cave Bear, and all of a sudden she goes, oh my God, yes, full of sex. It was full of sex. And then, of course, I didn't talk about Flowers in the Attic, which is full of incesty sex. It's totally gross. Anyway, I digress. There were books like this around, and actually my brother had one, and I don't remember what it was called, but it involved, abusing animals with parts and holes. I believe it was goats. So that's indelibly stuck in my head. So I am going to give you a wee little trigger warning with this because it is really graphic, but you're also going to learn some things because I got some terms to define for you. Very good stuff. So skip ahead if you want or not, because it's kind of hilarious. So first of all, there is a series of books that are called Ganged. So you can get ganged by literally anyone: doctors, nurses, construction workers, shoe salesmen, any number of things. And so this particular book is about a willing divorcee and 3 sizzling hot members of the ski patrol. So she sprains her ankle, and then Jay rescues her. He's a ski patroller. They have smoldering hot chemistry, and they are screwing like rabbits in the secluded cabin. And then knock, knock, someone's at the door. It's the beautiful Eric, a second ski patroller who, joins in. So they have Kayleen's ultimate MFM threesome. So that's male, female, male, male, female, male. Fantasy. It's finally fulfilled. But wait, there's more. Lost in a filthy menage of tag team, split roasting sex. You can Google that. It's not until Cliff, the handsome black patrol captain, which, okay, thank you, is and comes and bees involved. It gets involved, and it's her lust is finally sated. The hot interracial group action culminates in double penetration, penises and vages and anuses, which I can't wrap my mind around, but hey, 3-on-1 bareback, which means no condoms, and it's MFMM. You can do it. Male, female, male, male, gangbang that leaves her swollen, fulfilled, and grasping for more. So that's just the Amazon synopsis. And don't you worry, in the show notes, you can purchase this baby in any one of these. And honestly, I don't care what you do, but 10-year-olds should not be exposed to this crazy. Anyway, so do you get the picture there, people? Lovely, ain't it? All right, so not for kids, clearly not for kids. And look, it's an education. All right, so the next thing here is what to do with your sweet kiddo. So first of all, I know who you are. So I know you've been talking about sex, so he knows what sex is and he knows what sex for pleasure is. So a few things. First of all, you obviously need to let him know that he's seen this book. Some of the language you can use is, hey, I'm always about apologizing, right? Like, hey, I'm really sorry if we forgot to put the monitoring on this, because there's some really grown-up books that you can look at. And this one that you watched or you listened to about, I'm so used to porn. I'm so used to porn, video porn. Ooh, that gives me an idea. Just a sec, but let me finish this. So I am really sorry that you read this book. It's really adult sexuality and adult sex. And this is something that is somebody's fantasy. And it looks like, I'm guessing you probably didn't read the whole thing, and there might have been some things in there that were confusing. But I just want you to know that, I'm here for you. And if there's parts of this that you found unsettling or you have questions about, I'm really happy to answer. Now, he's probably going to be like, maybe mortified, maybe not, maybe relieved, like all the usual things. He may also, he might not be willing to answer questions from you. So you're going to offer that. And then you don't need to say anything. I just need to say a few things. And then you need to kind of clear it up. So just say, first of all, this is somebody's fantasy writing. This is not something that would ever really happen in real life. It is a story. The people having sex together in the ways that they talked about are, yes, people sometimes do those things. Most people do not. Most people don't have sex with more than one person. Some people have casual sex, which is fine because they're consenting adults. But I just want you to understand that all those things they were talking about, that's not something you ever have to do. And if somebody wants to do that with you, you can absolutely say no. And when you're an adult, if you want to do that and explore that, you can. Now, this is all sounding grown-up-y, right? But you have this shit you need to contend with. So they may say, what is MFM? And you're going to say what it means because you just learned it. You might have to Google spit roasting. I don't remember what that is. I'm sure I know what it is. Double penetration. So you might just have to clear up like some of these words. And he saw more, read more, much more graphic, right? I'm just going off this thing. I'm not going to be reading this, by the way. I know you're all like, what, Amy? It's not. I'm going to recommend it for my book club. It'll be great. So they want to read Wuthering Heights and watch the movie, which I think is good. Anyway, back to the Ganged collection. I think that you also have that conversation, and then it's time to whip out, the Everybody book, or probably it's perfectly normal to kind of reset how he sees sexuality. I'm assuming he's pre-puberty, so this is good. And, it's not bad that he knows there's different kinds of sex and different ways people are sexual together, that this is just a crap ton. And, the hope is that he's not going to seek out any more of this or, look at porn, because this is, basically porn, just the written kind. So yeah, that's all I got for you. And I hope it all went well. And I need to check in with you, obviously. So anywho, yeah, thanks for this. And so again, like, heads up, folks, there are really nasty, dirty novels out there. I said bad, not sex positive words, but not for kids. How's that? Okay. Meanwhile, back at the digression thing I was going to talk about. So it is okay for kids. All things being equal, I would much rather have him reading something, not necessarily like this, but reading a book with sexual content than watching it, because you have to use your imagination to like, when you use your imagination, imagination is part of sex. So it's just a different impact. And some of this stuff can be traumatized. Like, I think I'm traumatized by the goat abusing. Like, I really do. And I didn't need that in my head. Anyway, this little person has this stuff in his head. Hopefully he didn't really get it. And, this is just, again, part of life. It's just so hard because there's so many places kids can get into pretty hardcore stuff. And I know I'm preaching to the choir because you do everything I tell you. You just got to double check and make sure everything's tight and secure as it can possibly be. All right, on to the next question.
Hey, Amy, looking for your advice on how my husband and I can maybe figure out where we disagree about sex talks and get on the same page. So I recently had what I thought was a positive, helpful conversation, in part about sex, with our 12-year-old daughter. In relaying it to my husband, though, he didn't totally agree with what I said, and that surprised me. So looking ahead to many more birds and bees talks with our daughter, this makes me wonder what we should discuss with each other before talking with her. Are there some good questions we can ask each other? What should we two be on the same page about? And when is it okay to have and share different opinions with her? Thank you. Thanks so much. Bye.
This is one reason I sometimes envy single parents because, well, a couple of reasons. First of all, if you're parenting on your own, you kind of get to do whatever you want with your kiddos. I know that the other parents might be, or parent might be around, but you're under your own steam in a lot of ways. And then the other thing is that over the years, and research shows that single parents tend to do a better job, in particular single moms do a better job at the sex talks than people who are coupled, partially because they think maybe they're not talking about it, so maybe one person's doing it more than the other person is. They make some assumptions and judgments. So anyway, and here you are with this conflict with your kiddo's dad. And, I think that this is something that comes up a lot, and it's important to be communicating about this stuff. You don't necessarily need to be on the same page about everything, but the one thing you do need to be on the same page about is the importance of you all leading the charge, you talking with her, you making sure she has all the right information or as much as she possibly can, and that she is prepared, and that is your focus. The other piece is, this is all about health and safety, right? You want her to be healthy when it comes to her sex and relationships. You want her to be safe, no fucking doubt. And so if you can talk about just that really simple, like these two things, it will help, I think, to bring him around. Now, part of the reason people struggle with this is because they don't know what the best way to do this is. So they have a lot of misinformation and they go on how they learned. I think I'm going to make a generalization about people with penises who are raised as guys and men, that their experience of kind of learning on the job and their experience of sexuality, in especially maybe for straight guys, again, I'm just kind of generalizing here, it's different. And so sure, they were fine at 12 getting busy and figuring this out and not having a ton of information. People who can get pregnant and are more vulnerable in multiple ways, not to say that guys aren't vulnerable, it's different. And so when we had that lack of preparation for this, the consequences, frankly, are larger, and I know you know that. So he may be in his like, well, I was fine space, and I turned out okay, and I sorted it out. And sure, but my guess is he probably would have done better and felt better if he had had more information. And things have so changed. See every episode before this. And it's different. It's a different world. And so I think talking about that would be important, to have that conversation with him. And I think that if you just ask him, like, what worked for you, what didn't work, what do you wish you'd had? And, this kind of conversation, it's already probably a little heated because you're I'm guessing, pissed at him for being a dumb shit about this. Maybe you don't use those words. And him kind of putting up the barrier about it. So let's see. So ask him about like what was missing for him, what worked for him, what he wished he had more information about, when he wished he'd had it. You can ask him that. You can ask him global questions about, so what was going on when you were 12? Like, what were your friends up to? And see what he says about that. You're going to be little madam active listener. That rational hat needs to stay on. So mind yourself if you're starting to get hot and annoyed with him, which you may not. Okay, you may just be super chill the whole time. Because the goal here is to find a bridge and a connection. So exploring his past, his values a little bit, and then honestly, his worries for her. Sometimes if you just lay out, like if they can come up with it on their own, like if she's not straight and she might get bullied and be harassed for that. She may be ostracized. There may be all kinds of things that happen to her if she's not straight. If she's straight, same shit, but also pregnancy risk and, risk of assault. Everybody's got that. And so letting him come up with that list of troublesome potential things might be helpful to kind of open his eyes. And you can tell him, like, in the countries where everybody has better health outcomes, including healthier relationships, more confidence, a very good understanding of consent, where boundaries are respected, that these conversations start sooner rather than later. And another thing, too, is it is okay for you to just say, you know what, I'm happy to do this. Let's figure out where you can show up. But you don't have to show up, right? He doesn't have to show up. If you're willing to take it on, just do it. And it may be that she notices that her father doesn't talk about this, and you can say, yeah, he's uncomfortable, and there's some stuff, if you're curious about, feel free to ask him. I'm sure he'll respond, and she probably won't. I don't know their relationship. So just giving him an out is also fair. And your question about differing opinions. So it is always okay to have a differing opinion when it comes to things that are relationship related, more than the physical stuff. Like, there should be no difference of opinion that people who are able to get pregnant and having or thinking about having penis and vagina sex should be using birth control and condoms. If there is a difference of opinion there, then I would say, I don't know, I just run fucking screaming because that's just stupid. And people think that if you, anyway, you know about the whole thing about if you give them information, they're going to it's giving them permission. So generally speaking, talking about, well, when do you think it's okay for someone to become sexually active? And what does that mean to you? And talking about when is it okay for your kiddo to be dating, or, those kinds of things are where people can have differences of opinion. Abortion, obviously. And so when you're talking about this, you can say, your dad thinks differently. I think this, your dad thinks that. It's your job, especially in adolescence, to decide what makes the most sense to you. So it's okay to have differences of opinion, except for when it comes to safety and their health, their sexual health. Like, you should no difference of opinion. And the bottom line is, you can't predict when they're going to do anything, right? You cannot. I mean, you can kind of, if they're really open with you and you're having lots of good conversations, they will come to you and say, hey, all right, I'm thinking about getting busy, or I want this person to be my partner or my boyfriend, my girlfriend. And so yeah, anywho's. So he's okay to not be involved, but you do need to help him think about why this is so important that you at least are talking openly about what's going on. And I'm hoping that when he didn't agree, he told you later, or if he didn't agree in the moment, that's okay, because you can go back and just say, look, your dad doesn't agree about this, but blah, 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 whatever you need to say to kind of maybe do a little repair if he got weird about it. Anyway, so there you go. So in the show notes, there is a little like handout thing called Sexual Values and Attitudes, and it's got a ton of questions you can ask yourself and ask your partner. And this is one of those conversations where you need to prepare a little bit, and you need to make sure you've set aside time and everybody's lucid and clear. And, you know, if you're a drinker, maybe a glass of wine or beer or whatever, or you're just really centered and feeling calm. And you can tell that your partner is really like, all right, they're going to be open to this conversation. Another trick you can use is one of the tricks that I say to use with your children, which is to say, hey, I want to talk about this. I want to have a conversation about it. You know, why don't we do that this weekend? Let's set aside some time. And they'll say, okay, and then you'll find your time. And then that'll give them time to prepare, right? To think about, you know, what they want to talk about or what they're thinking about. And you can say, you know, I know we didn't agree about this, so we need to kind of sort it. I've got some ideas. And then go. Okay, and remember, chill. Try not to get pissed. Stay really calm. Keep your rational hat on. All right. So good luck with that. And these conversations, when you're thinking about this, when you're having a conflict with somebody, really, really help you to get clear about what's important to you. So, all right. Good luck. That's it for this week. Thanks to everyone who's been calling in. The number's 206-926-1522. So please leave me a message if you have a question or a tale from the trenches. And thank you to Melanie Smith, my producer, and to Rolf, who wrote the Birds and Bees and Kids theme song.